Welcome everyone to Enlightened World Network. I'm Deb Goldberg, your host of Divine Relationship Recovery. I am so grateful to be here with you today, and I have ShaRon Rea with us. So ShaRon, say hi.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you, Deb, for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was really so interesting the way that today's topic, which is quiet servitude, came along from God. And I was just telling ShaRon that as I was typing up the article, her name just kept popping in. So I knew that she had to be my host today to have this discussion because it fits so much in line also with what ShaRon does. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about ShaRon because I don't know if everyone has met ShaRon yet. ShaRon is a passionate woman on a serious mission to make the world a better place. She is founder of the global movement, No Judgment, Just Love. People around the world are embracing this message and are inspiring others to live together with unconditional allowance, one conversation at a time. ShaRon is a dynamic speaker and applies creative imagery as an author, describing how to live the way, which is choosing to move beyond judgments that divide to consciously lead with love in your thoughts, words, and actions. This will genuinely help us relate to each other better. ShaRon is also a certified family communication and relationships coach and owner of the Whole Family Coaching. She compassionately helps families find solutions to challenges raising teens, co-parenting after divorce, for grandparents raising grandchildren, fathers taking on new roles in parenting, and every caregiver focused on raising responsible, self-confident, and happy children. That what a role, ShaRon, and I really think what you're doing is bringing so much awareness to the world of understanding communication and relationships.
I think you're right, Deb. As I embark on this journey of helping families, helping myself, obviously doing the work for myself, I realize that, we are pretty cavalier with our words. We don't have a small community anymore. We're really pretty global, even in our own neighborhoods. And things that would mean something to me mean something different to someone else. I think because of emojis and, there's an allowance for misspelling, there's an allowance for mistakes, which is fine. But when you're trying to communicate with someone to talk about your wants or what's important to you or engage in a conversation of different perspectives, I think we fall short. And so I'm really grateful that not only I get to help families and individuals and share the message of No Judgment, Just Love, but also on Enlightened World Network, I have a show called Conscious Communications and the practice of No Judgment, Just Love. 8 short 15-minute episodes, really targeting different ways to communicate, helping us understand that. So thank you for letting me share that perspective, Deb.
You're very, very welcome. And do you want to talk a little bit about your coaching so people know a little bit more about what you do on that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I work with families that are having challenges understanding each other. And as Deb listed those areas, sometimes it's with teenagers. Teenagers are just trying to be the person that they're becoming. And especially now during COVID and lockdown and homeschooling, I am sure, and as I know working with clients, that energies are high, stress is high. That it's really hard to be a parent and a teacher and whatever work you have at the same time. So to be able to really listen to your child in a way that puts your perspective out of the way so you can really hear and know what they need from you, that's what I do as a coach. I'm very compassionate, and I would say that I'm a phenomenal listener. I listen not only to what you're saying, but what's behind your words. And I give people different perspectives, how to shift the way you look at something. If you're looking at something that's causing you stress, there are 1,000 other ways to deal with it. And sometimes we're not aware of that. So that's the gift I bring to any of my clients, which is a different perspective, which will cause you to have a different action that you can choose from.
Well, that is so important. I don't know that any of us really, I think most of us just talk and not always understand that people have different definitions of words, or how they're going to take something that you're saying, or that you could be actually hurting somebody in a way, and not meaning to do it at all.
Absolutely. And I was just talking to one of my daughter's friends, and he was explaining that we were talking about self-care. And he said, oh, I take care. I said, there's 4 areas to consider. People only really think about their mind, so they want to educate themselves, or their body, they want to exercise. But when you pay attention to your emotions, that's where you get a lot of personal information. And he was talking about being selfish. And I have a definition of what selfish is. And he was saying that because he's not paying attention to his emotions, he's selfish. And I just thought, I don't think that's what it means to me. But rather than not using, well, I should say, what I use is no judgment, just love. Because whatever someone has deemed their definition or the word that they choose, if I don't understand it, I'm not going to judge them. I just want to get clarity so we can continue with the conversation. So those 2 things, having the patience, having the less judgment, and allowing people to speak the way they speak, but to recognize if you don't understand, ask. If you don't understand, say, this is what I think the word means, or this is what I'm attempting to say, and thereby you guys get on the same page.
Yeah, that is such important, an important way to actually look at communication, and be open to listening to someone about how you could communicate better.
Yes.
Because you really want people to understand you, right?
If that's your goal.
And, that's true.
There are some people that just want to be in command of the conversation, that just want to tell you what to do. And for them, having a different skill is not really going to sink in. But for many of us, we really want to, I think, and so my clients have told me, and other people, I want to be heard. I want to be understood. I want to have an open space to share and talk about what's important to me without being shut down, without being judged, without being told that I don't matter. And especially now in our country, where we're having to have so many important conversations about our climate, about our politics, about racial, about school, so many things. It's vital that we get on a similar page to have these conversations.
I totally agree. I don't know that, coming from my own home, we didn't learn how to have a conversation. And I think that's the way many homes are.
Yeah.
It's all whatever skills you have or however you parent, then you end up teaching your children that way, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is, not only with parenting, you kind of parent the way you were parented if you thought you turned out pretty good, or you try and do the absolute opposite if you hated the way that you were parented. And similarly with communication, you kind of pick up the way to talk from the people around you, from your environment. So if there are yellers and loud, then that's how you communicate. If you're in a family that doesn't show emotion, doesn't want to talk about anything, their feelings, and you get those 2 types of people together, now we have explosions. So, and I think people would benefit from recognizing that communication is a relationship between 2 or more people, and that you have responsibility for what you're saying, but equally so does the other person. And then when the other one is talking, you have responsibility for listening. And I don't think we know how to listen well. We want to interrupt. We want to get our point across. We're thinking about what I'm having for lunch because I don't really care what you're talking about. And all of those things interrupt what could be the beautiful flow of understanding.
Yeah, I so agree. I so agree. So you're talking about being able to execute your communication a certain way. You're listening, right? You're going to listen, but it's also your receiver.
Yes.
How are you perceiving what you're receiving, which is another part, okay?
Yes.
So perceiving and what you're receiving is so important, because if we get offended by something, then we start having all of these reactions, and it completely shifts the conversation.
Yes. And that's something to pay attention to, Deb, as well. That's one of the shows is about emotional triggers. Mm-hmm. You know, there are certain things that people say to you or in conversation that cause a memory from the past where you had to protect yourself or shut down or something hurt you. And unbeknownst to the person, they're saying it and now you're triggered. And if you don't have awareness that that's what happened, number one, but that you don't have to be so immediately reactive. You know, I think we get conditioned by our cell phones and by, you know, electronics that we have to answer right away. And if you don't answer me in 5 minutes, where are you? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. But I think in one-to-one or one-to-many communication opportunities, it's important to pause. It's important to be patient. Mm-hmm. It's important to be silent. And that when an emotional trigger has been touched, just say, you know, hold on a minute. You might not have meant to say what you said, or might not have known that what you said triggered me. So I just need a minute or longer to come back and continue this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to do that. And all of this conversation is so awesome because it is leading us into the article that God gave me for today, and it's called Quiet Servitude. So I'm going to just read the first part of it, and ShaRon and I will have a conversation about it. And for all of you that may be watching, please get involved. Tell us what you think. Share your opinions as we go along. So the first part of Quiet Servitude from God is, the dictionary describes the word servitude as slavery. However, I am reframing this word for you in the way it was meant to be understood. Servitude means in service to. If you notice, at the end of the word servitude is tude, as in attitude. For many years, people believed that servitude meant slavery because of historical events that did include slavery. Also, most people didn't understand the intended meaning of the term service when used in religious doctrine, as in the concept of service to me, meaning God the Creator. Many people thought that this meant that it had to be giving things up, live a certain way, or engage in different types of sacrifices. For this article that God gave me that we're discussing, we are using the term servitude as joyfully being in service to me, God, yourself, and others, because all there is one that is being served. So that's a lot just in that one paragraph.
It certainly is. And I have so many thoughts about that, but I'd love to hear what you got from that, Deb.
Oh, goodness. Well, you know, I started to think about the word servitude, and yeah, that it is described as slavery. And what came to my mind is that it's a victim consciousness that is attached to that word. And I had thought about people believing that they had to perform a certain way or do certain things to experience salvation, to or the oneness with God. That the only way they would be accepted or acceptable is that they have to go through all of these processes of practicing whatever that might be, whatever religion. Each religion dictates different things, and I thought how hard that is to feel. And this is a huge problem that comes from believing in separation from God, is that you already are that, but we don't believe that.
Right.
And what he's saying is all there is one that is being served. So every person you interact with, your relationships, it's really your relationship with God, which is your relationship with yourself, because there is only one. And I thought how many things we still do today, including myself, of how we practice cleansing, clearing, sacrificing, having to do something a certain way, even in the light worker community.
Yeah.
It's not just religions, even in the light worker community, that we're always still feeling somehow that something's wrong with us when nothing is wrong with us.
That is such a perfect statement, Deb, because the two things that are standing out for me are the victimhood mentality and sacrifice, and that we are less than. Mm-hmm. We are not worthy. There's something that needs to, it's very interesting because we have these two visuals, I think, in the spiritual light worker community, where we have a cognitive understanding that we are one, but to live it gets disconnected. Mm-hmm. I know for myself, our friend Karen Palmer, we had a little class where she talked about our magnificence, and it really stuck with me that everyone, no matter how you're living, no matter what behaviors you're displaying, no matter how others may or you may see yourself as broken, you are magnificent. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, and it's become a habit now, it's about, it's a long time I've been doing this. When I do that, I look at everyone with loving eyes, with accepting eyes, and thereby I don't have any resistance to serving, resistance to helping, because you're magnificent and you are God, and so am I. And when I serve you, I'm serving me. Mm-hmm. It is a twisty turny thing, God, in our heads that to really get a hold on that. And I don't know if you've seen the movie, it's a long time ago, called The Butler. And it was the person who was in service to the president. And many of those men, there were only men because it was, a historical position, were Black. And when the optics of it, or the way it looks, is a Black person serving a white person, which equals slavery. Mm-hmm. But when we in the movie, the person, the guy, the man talks about it from his perspective, what an honor it is to serve this person who is doing great things in the world.
Mm-hmm. What a great story. And what it gives you a whole different perspective. So,
yes.
Yeah. So a lot of what we're seeing comes from this victim consciousness, and that's where this servitude came about, as looking at slavery. And yeah, we can't deny that. We can go back in history and look at all kinds of slavery from the get-go, and but that's not really what we're here for. We're here to be in service to the light. Yeah. In service to yourself and service to others is the same thing as in service to God. And it's really easy to, as we're growing on this journey, to look at sometimes service feels like it's a demand or a have to, an obligation, versus can I just look at it as joyfully being in service? And I know that God's corrected my mind with this quite a few times, because, you know, we have this other voice that we hear that says, I don't want to do it, or la, 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 right? And sometimes you just don't want to, and it's okay. I mean, really, if we're going to do something, we really need to do it in joy and not out of obligation. Otherwise, what is it?
Exactly.
You know, what is it that we're doing? And so I think through the journey is, even though we talk the talk, we haven't yet really believed and integrated that belief enough that we are divine perfection and that we are one.
And therein again brings communication into the conversation, because just like you said, it's important to redefine what that means, because that word servitude has a lot of historical victim, forced servitude, and that's not what I'm hearing God say in this letter, this article, I mean. And what I'm uncovering for me that I just want to share with your audience is that it is really hard to give if you feel you're giving up something. And that to me leads us to absolutely spending time with ourselves, shifting the conversation from I'm not worthy, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I don't know, that whatever it is you're beating yourself up about, and recognize that that's just being human, and you are magnificent. And when you can come from that place of full on knowing, even if you haven't healed all the parts or identified all the parts, but just the fact that, you know, I don't have to give up anything of myself in order to be in service to you.
And that's beautiful. You're not sacrificing anything.
Exactly.
You're not, there is no scarcity of you.
Correct.
Yes. And so it is really interesting how this keeps playing out. And it plays out in my own life, that I am constantly in conversation and getting corrected about how I need to view things. What am I viewing things through a lens of duality, or am I viewing things from the knowing who I am?
Yes.
And knowing who you are, that in itself is the journey of really stepping into believing what you're being taught, what you know to be true, that keeps getting stripped away during the day, and that you have to keep saying, no, I know who I am, and I want to stay there. I want to stay there. And that you're perfect, even as you're waffling. You're perfect in every single thing that you're doing. Nothing changes your divinity. Nothing changes your perfection. Nothing changes your innocence. Ever. Ever.
That's a big one. Because we have so many judgments about certain behaviors, which ones are right, which ones are wrong. I didn't do it when I should have, or whatever the whole big old conversation is with yourself. And that concept is freeing, number one. And at the same time, it's true. But we have so many things that we have to get rid of or redefine, and we keep having this visual of you're over there, Deb, and I'm over here. So how can we be one?
Right. It is really a miracle, this whole experience of illusion, of duality. It is really, only God could create something like this. And then we're trying to understand it. And what I love about, the support that's always there is that he's always trying to communicate with us in whatever way that we'll listen. So the next part of this is people underestimate the power of quiet servitude. Quiet servitude for most of us conjures visions of cloistered monks or those who have taken a vow of silence and spend their life in quiet service. But there are many more ways to understand the term. When you are in silent prayer or meditation, you are in quiet servitude, which is the highest form of holding a space of love. This creates an extremely powerful presence of I am within you. And when you are in communion with me, God, meaning having a mutual love and adoration for each other and having sacred, intimate conversation, you are in quiet servitude.
Wow. You know, when it's said to you like that, it just, for me at least, gives so much of an open door to be quiet more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now in my home, I can look outside and I see the trees and the desert, and there's a light breeze, and just being able to appreciate that and be quiet in that and not rush through it. It's a whole different way to live, Deb. I feel the peace of it just talking about this.
Mm-hmm. I do too. It just is just going, whew. I feel the peace just coming right over me of understanding how slowing down and understanding that it's not just doing, it is what, when we are in conversation, and basically all day you are in conversation with God, you're in communion because you can't be separate.
Correct.
So you don't even realize, you don't think about it because you're doing this and doing that, and you get busy and distracted, and you don't understand that you can't move away from that. You think you moved away from it because your mind went all the way over here somewhere, but you can't move away from the presence of I am, of what you are. And that prayer or meditation or just looking out the window at the beautiful nature, at what God painted for us as beautiful landscape, and really taking it in is being still and quiet and really appreciating it.
Yes.
And then you can get into gratitude because you're sitting and appreciating and feeling. And this is important, is really feeling the oneness. And that eludes people a lot. And it can elude you when you're busy doing your day. But when you do feel it, you know it.
Yes.
You know it. And that is what is there all day. And you want to keep going back to that over and over again because it is so filling and loving and freeing.
There's a phrase that I use with people when they're not yet ready or understanding that life can be a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more easy, is that you're comfortable in your uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You become comfortable with ignoring the signs, with rushing through your day, or not recognizing what you just said is that God and whomever else you want, they're always talking to you. They're always there for you. And that is a real shift that just happened for me recently, because, you know, it's like a pole is always there and we just kind of dance around it. It's not going anywhere. And he wants ease and joy. And when you're in that place, it makes it effortless to accommodate someone else, effortless to look at someone else to see what they need. And if you have it, willingly provide it.
Mm-hmm. Right. If you feel
I just feel so, it's important. I hope that the audience is really letting this sink in. This is, to me, something that we don't talk about a lot. There's always an element of doing in, light working. And okay, so like you said, we have to heal, or we have to do, we have to rise. It's like a constant do. And this, to me, is just big exhale.
Mm-hmm. It is a big exhale. And Jesus would say to me, Deb, it's really easy. All you have to do is believe. And I was like, why is it so hard to believe? Because, you start taking it in and then it's gone. And then you take it in and it's gone. And I'm like, it's not as easy as you're saying it is, Jesus. Yeah, it is really easy. All you have to do is believe truth and believe that over everything else. Believe what you're being taught divinely over your senses. And stay in your knowingness of what you know.
Whoever designed this was like, oh man. Yeah. I can see why some people would not volunteer to come down and do this. I'm good. I'll stay up here.
I got asked quite a few times, I'm not having fun here. Can you please take me?
Yes.
I want to go back home.
Yes.
I'm done with this, right? Until I really started to understand it's supposed to be fun. It's not getting caught up in all of the experiences defining you, or
Right.
that you're in battle gear all the time. You're not. So the next part is, servitude does not mean that you have to take a vow of silence or that your voice is unimportant. Nor does it mean that you should stop serving others in your daily experience. I want you to understand that being still and quiet is serving just as much, if not more at times, than doing. So that's a little bit more on what we were just discussing. And that it doesn't mean that we have to become a monk.
And it's interesting because I think I'm beginning to embrace that there is efficient results when you do. You'll cook dinner for somebody, or you'll go and help them if they're sick, or you take their kids to school if school is open. But I'm more and more becoming aware that our energy is way stronger than our physical body. And when you're in quietness, that energy is powerful. Mm-hmm. And even if you've almost just connected, not almost, you have connected to the oneness, you've connected to the I am. And you become a partner. So it's not just you trying to do with your own hands. You've connected into that all-knowing energy that just serves with just by being there. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so powerful. I mean, this is how I get all of these messages. I'm being spoken to. This is what I want you to do today. I want you to talk about quiet servitude, and I'm going to tell you how I want you to see it. I want you to see it through a divine lens and not what you come up with in your own mind.
Right. And do you hear it like that, Deb, the words? Mm-hmm. Wow,
it's
how
just
cool.
A conversation. And everybody can hear, whether you hear it auditorily or you just know you're being spoken to, and it just comes up. You just know what you're being told.
Right.
Through your heart. But yeah, now I hear like dictation, but it's a conversation. But when I'm getting asked to scribe something, it's dictation, and wow. I'm just writing down whatever I hear. And it's beautiful. I mean, this is what I'm reading, and this is what happens when we're quiet. You get to hear all kinds of amazing things.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I am very grateful. I'm very, very, very grateful. The next part of this is what we were talking about, communication before, ShaRon. And this is addressing communication. So it was really great that we had that conversation when we first got started. So God says you can also apply the practice of quiet servitude as not always feeling the need to speak out constantly, unless it is necessary, as your words, your intended meaning, your tone and energy, etc., impact others in ways that you cannot always comprehend.
Yeah.
You need to be thoughtful in your communication, meaning that your words are heart-centered and coming from an I position is of utmost importance. This means pausing before you speak. Have you spoken with me about your beliefs to gain more perspective before you share your thoughts? These are questions from him. Have you spoken with me about your beliefs to gain more perspective before you share your thoughts? Can you allow a more expansive view on life than what you have right now? Can you make a practice of knowing your truth does not make other beliefs wrong, other people's beliefs wrong, and that their truth does not make you wrong?
You know, when I read that, when you sent me the article, I just thought, oh, every single person needs to hear this. Because we have gotten into the space that everything is a us or a them, a that or a this. There's only two parties for the politics. There's only two genders. There's only two. I mean, it's just nutty. Once you open up to another perspective, and you can't. I think it's more difficult to get there if you're constantly talking or being talked to, because what somebody said, if you're talking, you're only talking about what you already know. Mm-hmm. When you're listening, you get to add new information to that.
Mm-hmm. Your view just becomes so much more expansive, and then you're seeing it from a higher level, not just what your mind comes up with or the news told you or what your family believes, or
right.
What does God want? How does God want you to see what you're looking at? He wants you to see with a higher perspective. That's what this whole ascension is about, is moving up into higher consciousness, is that we need help in understanding what we're viewing.
Yes, because we've been taken down a wrong road, long and windy. Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, and I do want to just reiterate that when I can see people in their magnificence, the reaction, and it's just me. Sometimes I'm not even looking at people, but somehow that energy of allowance and acceptance and you matter reaches people, and I find them. One young lady the other day, as I was coming out the door, she goes, and you have your mask on, so all you can see is my eyes. She has the best smile. I'm like, how'd she see me smiling? I got a mask on. But I was, because her kids were doing something so cute. Mm-hmm. It is profound, Deb, the misunderstanding we have about how we live in this world.
Mm-hmm. It is all misunderstanding. And this has been going on from the beginning of time, of not really understanding who God is.
Yeah.
Not understanding who you are. And there has been prophets that have come along, and Jesus, trying to help us understand from a different place of who we are. But we don't get it. We keep missing out on the truth because we're not always taking the time to be quiet and listen, because your identity comes from God, not from this world. And until you can listen and have these conversations, I'm talking about conversations. You speak with God. It is speaking with yourself. It's this constant dialogue of understanding who you are from that perspective, so that you can move forth in this world and do what what you came here to do, what you were created for. And exactly. There is something very unique for each person of what they were created for to do. So these are all amazing questions to ask yourself. whether you're open or not to receive.
And it's for me, it's been the journey of when I get this, and I think this show is helping, hopefully, many people confirm that being quiet allows you to listen to not only yourself, so you can get to know you better, but you're listening to what your guidance is, and that's incredible for me, because when I hear it and it resonates, I just want to learn more. Okay, so yeah, okay, we got that part now. Tell me more, because I just have this excitement that we could live unbelievably beyond our wildest dreams if we just keep going on this particular trajectory.
I totally.
And that mind blown.
Yeah, that you have so much power, and your peace, actually, what Jesus has taught me is that your power is in your peace. You are so powerful in your peace more than any other time.
Wow.
Because when you're at peace, you're content and you are connected.
That makes so much sense, especially being around, kids or people that are having tantrums or, having an episode. And when you're calm, then you can gather your thoughts, you can figure out what's necessary. But when you're all frantic, the messages can't get through to you.
Right. Totally true.
Wow.
I know it well. I know it well.
Yes.
Accepting your perfection wherever you are in every moment, even if you're having a tantrum, you are still divine. That never ever changes. You just forgot who you were in the moment. You forgot and allowed some illusion or delusion take over of what you think is going on, and you're stuck in a story somewhere.
Yeah.
But nothing changes because God doesn't change. God does not change.
Wow.
You don't change. ShaRon, we did a show together, I don't know if it was about a month ago, and God gave us a topic of preferences, remember?
Yes, I do.
And that fits right into this too, is understanding that you still are going to have preferences as well. That's
yeah.
Human.
That's you just took the words out of my mouth. It's part of being human. And it's part of being a different aspect of the one. I mean, we're not all the same. None of us are the same. We may have some similarities, but all of that informs your preferences. And I think it becomes more and more important to know who you are in relationship to other people, but you have to start with knowing and loving and appreciating and releasing the need to do and just be, and know that no matter where you are in the right spot.
Right. No matter where you are. That can never change.
Right.
Yeah.
That's such an opposite. I mean, I feel like everything I've been told in my past is a bunch of hooey.
It is a bunch of hooey. It is. We all drank the Kool-Aid.
Yes.
We all drank the Kool-Aid, and thinking that something is wrong with us, something inherently is wrong with us, or experiences that we had that was damaging created some kind of scarring for us when there is not. With the preferences, by spending so much time with God and Jesus, I was able to understand where my preferences were coming from.
Oh.
Because why did I have that preference? Was there a part of me that needed to be healed from an experience or what I've been taught? And can that preference shift?
Yes.
Shift to a much more expansive view, so that I can now have a preference, but I know where that preference is being divinely guided.
Yeah.
Versus it came from some misbelief system.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, Deb. I mean, that's a mouthful right there. Just to know that, I think many of us get stuck. This is the only way I can think. This is the only way that I see that this is happening. And so I don't like this, or I do like this, and I can't change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you can. You can teach an old dog new tricks.
You can. And you're being changed all day long, whether you know it or not. You're being transformed one moment to the next. And
Yes.
it's so subtle. At times, when it happens and you're like, whoa, I really see something shifted right now. But you are subtly changing in every moment. You just
Mm-hmm.
can't not. Because God is expressing itself through you. And
Yes.
and you cannot be moved. You can not be changed in every moment. And it may be things that people don't see on the outside.
Yeah, I remember that when I was moving through the divine relationship of marriage. And, I wanted my former spouse to get what I got, you know, come with the program. This is how it is. And I always felt like we were, we're never on the same space. And I'm going to say it just came to me, but now I know where the thought came from, that he's changing. I just don't see it. It hasn't come up to the surface yet where I can see different behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And it may never come, but he is changing. Because if you're not, that's what the universe is. There is no end or stop, in my opinion. It's always changing,
Mm-hmm.
always growing. So why would we not be a part of the always changing and always growing?
Mm-hmm. We are creation. We are creation looking back at itself, looking at itself.
Wow.
You look outside your window, it's all creation. We're one with all of that. And so you're seeing creation, or you want to call it consciousness, in another form.
Mm-hmm.
That is always mimicking your internal dynamic.
Yes.
What's going on in your own consciousness, plus what you've been provided for through God as creation around you. So it's like this amazing, everything changing all the time. I mean, just watch a flower, or the trees, or the leaves falling, or the leaves growing and the grass growing. There is constant shifting going on in consciousness all the time. It is so beautiful. And taking that in is a lot. Taking in that you are creation and the power that you have as creation, and that the creator of it is working through you, with you, as you, is an amazing understanding. So you do affect everything.
Yes. I think that's a major point too. I don't think as many people as I would like, including me sometimes, that understand that what you do affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
Affects other people, affects the energy around you, affects your house, the energy in your car. All of that is relational to how you show up.
Mm-hmm. And it has to do with your relationship with yourself. That defines everything.
Yes.
And if we're coming from a relationship with ourselves and others and God from a place of separation, then nothing's really, you're not going, because then it's coming from brokenness. Something's wrong with me. I'm different than you are. I'm not one. And that creates really uncomfortable situations in our life. And so I know even when I first went to God, the first time that in meditation, that I started to talk with him, and I would see, and of course my brain makes some image of God, so that, because that's what human brain
Sure.
I was on my knees I was on my knees, crying, like I'm not worthy of even talking to you. I had so much shame and guilt.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, get up. Get up, Dad. He said, I did not create you like that. You are a rock. I made you a rock. You are strong. You get up and you stand up with me.
Wow. Wow, Deb. Can you imagine? I mean, obviously you can because you experienced it, but I mean, to have someone that you put on a pedestal that you think are so outside of who you are, to say, get on up here, girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're just talking to yourself. You're basically just talking to yourself because it is only oneness.
Yes.
You look into the face of God, you see the face of yourself. You look into everybody around you, you look into the face of God, you see yourself, you see God in everything. And that is, God helps you get to that point. God is transforming you every day to get
Yes.
where you need to be on your journey. But why not awaken and be aware and say, I want this relationship. I want to have a conscious relationship.
Yes.
Rather than I'm going to just go about life without the source of my soul.
When you put it like that, it's like, who would want to do that?
We do. I mean, I did it for 56 years. I knew something was out there. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know it was out there until it was in here. And I'm like, what have I been missing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing out there. It's all in here. It's all in here.
It's so funny.
It is
so
funny.
True.
It is an amazing experience. So the next part of this is more questions.
Ooh.
Are you willing to expand your understanding of self to include the truth that there is enough love within you to allow for differences without it causing fear in you?
I am, but that's a hard one.
Mm-hmm. Can you accept others as they are without wanting to change them?
No. Yes.
Most of us want to do that. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you see your sisters and brothers as the light of perfection, no matter how they are performing in their own story? The ability to allow differences is also practicing quiet servitude.
Do you see practicing quiet servitude as a form of meditation that has to be done in a certain way, or can you be in quiet servitude as you're cooking dinner, or quiet servitude as you're taking a walk or taking a shower?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do. And when you can stay present, you understand that's where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're present, rather than going off in your head somewhere and thinking about all kinds of things, when you're quiet and present, no matter how you're going about your day, whether you're cooking dinner, no matter you're doing your job, when you are doing these things, you are in quiet servitude.
Mm-hmm. Serving the dishes by getting them clean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're serving yourself. You're serving yourself and you're serving the rest of the people in your family.
Yeah.
You're doing something very loving. So this kind of goes into a little bit like what we were given for preferences. Is can we allow other people to have their own truth and differences without it causing fear in us?
And fear is interesting too, because I'm thinking of my daughter who's becoming more and more of herself right now. She's got a lot of things that have shifted and changed in her world. And, I'd like her to make certain decisions that I think might be best for her. And she might ultimately make them or not, but right now she's being so wonderful to share with me her thought process, which allows me to do exactly that. Just be patient and let her do her thing. Wherever she's headed is where she needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the privilege and the gift of watching.
Mm-hmm. Being the observer, the loving observer.
Yes. And jump in if she asks me, but if she doesn't, I just know from this, all is well.
Mm-hmm. All is well. Everything is working perfectly. Everything's in divine order. It never changes. We think it changes because of the circumstances that keep coming across our path and the way that we view it.
Yeah.
We view a lot of things as wrong or right, good or bad, and there is none of that. Everybody's having their own journey, and you are going to have preferences about what you see. But
Yes.
do we force them on other people? And what, I can go back to a time where if my husband didn't agree with me on something, then I would think I was wrong.
Wow.
Or that if I didn't agree with him, that I needed to agree with him because he knew better than I did.
Wow. Oh,
So
yeah.
all of these stages of not understanding myself and who I was and allowing other people to define my reality. So I didn't know, I was just pulling from other people.
Exactly.
Ideas of who I am or how things should be on the outside, rather than relying on my own ability to trust myself.
I think so many people are in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Either somebody else in their world is better than them, or they're better than somebody else and they have to look down on them or think they're not valuable in the world.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I know is that there is only equality in divinity. There is nothing else other than equality. That's like God saying, stand up and talk to me. We are no different.
Yeah.
Right? And
such a hard concept because you've been told the opposite,
mm-hmm.
drilled for centuries.
Mm-hmm. And so when you can rely on, I had to learn all of this from God and Jesus because I was a mess when they woke me up. I didn't know I was a mess, but I was a mess. And so having your identity given to you divinely and them teaching you who you are, and what you're doing is having such a different perception of yourself, and then learning to trust yourself, mm-hmm. learning to trust your own guidance, learning how to trust your own intuition, which was a huge process for me because I hadn't done that for so many years. And I think a lot of us, I'm not alone in all of that. And when you've had experiences that keep skewing your reality, you tend to believe the illusion rather than going inside because you don't know you can do that.
Exactly.
And I'm telling you that every single one of you can do this. There is nothing different about me or ShaRon, that you are no different. You are one, and you can hear and be led and guided from inside and allow correction. I call it spiritually being reparented, basically. Allow correction to all of your views, all of your perceptions, all of your belief system, and have it corrected through a divine lens. Because once you start doing that, it is amazing to watch the shift inside of you, and that you start to see that magnificence of who you are, what this world is, and everyone else.
And everything on the outside of your world shifts with you.
Mm-hmm.
Things start to be more synchronistic. Joy is more possible. You see, it's almost like you took off your glasses, but you can see clearer without
Mm-hmm.
those glasses.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
Oh my
Great
gosh, it is.
description. Great description. So the last paragraph is, quickly, because we're running out of time, God's saying this is where we're going. We're moving into a more thoughtful reality that is centered in love, and our perception of life is much more expanded because we allow divine truth to keep discerning for us. Ask to see things from a higher truth. This is what will create more quiet servitude within you. Let the gentle strength of love fill you and allow its resonance to satisfy you, for this is your natural state. This is how we go forward into the new world, living from a higher, more expanded consciousness.
Beautiful.
That's what we're being asked to do.
And we're headed to a new world. That's just so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm in.
Ascension. Higher, yes. If we will allow ourselves to be awake and present and to go with this flow of spending time inside, and know that there is something so much more beautiful that will keep showing up for you because you keep showing up for yourself.
Yes.
Inside. Just doing the inside work will change everything.
We know that.
Mm-hmm, we know that. So I have a little mantra from God, and it is, I am peaceful within the I am presence and its powerful, quiet servitude. I am peaceful within the I am presence and its powerful, quiet servitude. We have Lillian with us, and she's saying, yes, the new world. And the observer. And we have Mark on here. He says hi, and it looks like Ruth is on here. We have a lot of people watching. Please share out this video on your timelines if you think your friends and family would it would resonate with them. It would be great to share this out as much as we can, and letting people know that there's so much more within them than they have any idea at all.
That's beautiful. It's just such a gift to know you're more than what you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to do anything but just know it.
Mm-hmm. Just know it and just embody that belief.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So ShaRon, this has been beautiful spending time with you.
Yes, Deb, I love you, and I love these conversations initiated by God.
Initiated by God. Yes, I love spending time with you too, and I'm so grateful for everyone that's watching because we want feedback from you too. We want to know how what you're hearing is affecting you and your thoughts about it. And
Yes.
if you need any more information, you can contact me through Enlightened World Network. And ShaRon, how do people get in touch with you?
ShaRon at njjl.world. You can email me there.
Awesome. That's great. Yes, please check out ShaRon and all the wonderful offerings that she has. It is she does a wonderful job, and as you can see, the beautiful love and light and energy that she brings everywhere she goes. So
Thank you, Deb.
welcome.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes, thank you. And so we're going to say goodbye for now, knowing we are one love, protected and held in divine order by our Creator. Go out this day in this awareness and allow God's peace and joy to occupy every thought. Lead with your heart and welcome everyone home, for all are loved. God bless you and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.